This is Ticats Postgame on the Ticats Audio Network.
We have a lot to break down here on Ticats Postgame. Bubba O'Neill along with Andy Fantuz, and we will be joined by RJ Broadhead and Luke Tasker in mere moments. 32-14 as the Ticats sink to 0-2 on the season on somewhat of a disappointing end result at BMO Field. And Andy, I think we can both agree, so many good-looking, maybe individual performances, but as a collective team, this team has work to do.
Yeah, it certainly does. You look overall, I think it was a much more competitive game, this game, than it was last week. They cleaned up a lot of issues, but you gotta look at that offensive output, and there's a lot of questions. You gotta get more offensive production from in the first. You take away the last two drives of the game where Toronto's in prevent defense, and it's pretty abysmal, really. How many 2-and-outs? You're not giving your defense any time to take breaks and keep executing at a high level. So you saw the tackling start to slip in the second half. You saw the big plays for Toronto, or the extended drives, begin to pile up after the defense came out in the third quarter and played pretty well and forced the Toronto Argonauts into 2-and-outs for the first few drives, but then it just became too much to handle. So you need offensively and need to find a way to shake things up a bit and get some more production out there and relieve some pressure.
On Ticats postgame, as I said, we will go roundtable style with the rest of the broadcast crew. We will present our performer of the game. We do have exclusive access to the coaching room and the locker room, courtesy of Access Storage, and we will review our CarStar keys to victory. And Andy, let's get to that right now.
Yeah, sure. So number one was be disciplined. And if you look at it as a whole, there weren't nearly as many penalties as there were last week, for instance, but they came at crucial times in that first half. The first half score would have looked completely different if it wasn't for those costly penalties. And so I'm going to give this a failing grade because of that. They certainly cleaned it up in the second half. A few holding penalties on punt returns, but didn't really cost them too much yardage. Just the major fouls in that first half were very costly.
Sure, tackling was something that you talked about. Did we see enough of it that made you happy for a passing grade?
No, in the first half, there was only a couple plays that I saw non-sure tackling. But in the second half, as the defense got worn down, you saw more and more broken tackles, more and more extra yardage. And so I can't give this one a passing grade either. You wanted to see Chad Kelly have a few more hits and get brought down a bit more, but he seemed to have a lot of time in the pocket to kind of pick apart the defense. And inevitably, when you're not playing complementary football, it's hard to continue with that excellent tackling for 4 quarters against a strong opponent with tough runners.
When the Ticats ended last season, they made a bold move by going out and getting a veteran-like quarterback in Bo Levi Mitchell. They were not happy with, I would say, what your .3 was in terms of last year. And right now, there's a struggle there right now with their third key to the game.
Yeah, win the turnover battle, and it was only 2-0, only those 2 interceptions, but both left points on the board, both in the score zone. The Argos picked off both passes in their own end zone. So it's not only a turnover, but it's a failure to get any points, and the Argos get the ball, at the 30. So it's worse than just a regular interception. It's an interception minus an extra 20 or 30 yards. So disappointing there for sure, and not able to create any turnovers. There weren't too many opportunities this game. I thought there might have been 2 chances for interceptions, and it's hard to say how close they were to getting any fumbles. But, yeah, you got to give the Argonauts credit for taking care of the ball and not giving anything away and forcing the Ticats to earn everything they had.
Time for us to announce our performer of the game, presented by Hercules Tire. Right on our strength. Duke Williams, good game today.
Yeah.
And I think we talked about this. When you get him involved, he can become a factor.
Yeah, well, it's not only his stats. He had 9 targets, 6 of those he caught for 102 yards, but it was just the way it happened in a timely manner. They were tough, gritty catches with contact. That big third down conversion to extend the second last drive that ended up getting a touchdown. Yeah, I thought when they went to him, good things happened. And he was a big offseason acquisition. He has that big playability, so you want to make sure you keep him involved consistently throughout the game. And maybe even give him some more deeper shots. I mean, the Ticats had 0 big plays in this game. That's a rush over 20 yards, a pass over 30 yards. And they only had 2 last game. So we're kind of missing that big playability right now with the Ticats. But Duke Williams will get our player of the game for his tough catching. And kind of honorable mention was James Butler.
Yeah.
He ran the ball 16 times, 57 yards, plus that really nice touchdown. Caught 7 passes out of 7 targets for 57 yards, so ended up with 114 total yards. A few of those catches were at the end there, but still, regardless, I thought he made the most of his opportunities, and sometimes he had, was hit in the backfield, but was able to spin away or break a tackle and get a few yards when it looked like there was nothing. So he had a great game, and we'd like to see that commitment to the run, and that was a positive from today. But a couple good individual performances there by Duke and James Butler. And
as Coach John Salavanis talked about it in our pregame show, he did show that ball security today.
He did, yeah. You could see him kind of iron crossing it, wrapping it up in contact. Anytime you can catch 7 out of 7 targets, that puts a lot of trust for your quarterback moving forward, that outlet's going to be there, and he's going to be in the right spot, and he's going to make a tough catch. You saw a number of times last year that those little checkdowns were deflected and intercepted, and turned out bad. So that was a positive. One thing.
As always, we do have exclusive access to the coach room. Time to check in with Coach Orlando Steinauer, as presented by Access Storage. Coach, one of those tough losses here, 32-14. I saw you take a kneel there before you left the field. What were you thinking in your head there?
Yeah, losing's no fun. That's what it is, right? It's just quick reflection and just the time to reflect. That's it.
Coach, you got a short week here with the home opener on Friday before a bye week. What will the emphasis be with such little time to prepare?
Same things. We can't beat ourselves. That's it. Football's not a tough game, right? Coaches want to make it complicated. It's not complicated, right? Don't beat yourself. Take the ball away. Don't turn it over. Put points on the board, and when you get them in second and long, get them off the field. That's it.
We did see some injuries there, and Bo, I guess our fan base certainly would want to know, do we have any update on what happened to Bo Levi Mitchell? I'm going to predict a groin, but I'd rather hear it from you.
Yeah, it's a lower body injury. He just wasn't able to return. That was the gist of it. In the heat of the battle, the details don't matter. We just need to know if he can go back in or not. He wasn't able to, so.
And you certainly made the best of whatever you could there on the offensive line. It looked like there was some guys that were banged up as well there too.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Coulter had to leave. Yeah, we got banged up pretty good there. Again, throughout special teams too, people that they couldn't return. So proud of the grit and the effort of the guys. I wouldn't expect anything different when it comes to that, but it's got to show up in the win column.
So one of those situations, Coach, where, again, coming off the 0-2 record, the tough loss today, probably some things you liked, some things that, you certainly need to correct on. But the fact that it's a tight turnaround and that it's your home opener, something to look forward to.
Yeah, absolutely. The best way to get this out of the way, and out is just with a win, right? You got to play. You do need to, football's a unique game, and you do need a little bit of time to heal and go from there. We'll see who's available to play, and then we will go from there. But yeah, the quick turnaround, we're excited about it. We know it's been on the schedule, and that's the bottom line. We got to move forward.
And we're looking forward to seeing you guys do that and a good week of practice, Coach. And we'll talk to you soon. Thanks for joining us.
All right, thanks, guys.
Exclusive access to the coaching room. That was Coach Orlando Steinauer, as presented by Access Storage. And we bring in Luke Tasker here to talk about today's 32-14 loss at BMO Field, sinking the Tiger Cats to 0-2. Again, I know you guys talked about this, that it was a tough, when you look at the schedule this year, very, very tough assignment, and the fact that you are playing the likes of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers at IG Field, which could be the loudest and toughest place to play a game. And then you got to go in and face the defending Grey Cup champions, who've had a week to scan you. And but again, I know Coach says this all the time, we're a no-excuse organization, but these guys got to get back on track.
Yep, they've got to find a way at home, and I agree with Coach. I think it's actually better that you're kind of right back at it here. They've got a short week, and then they get to play in their home Tim Hortons Field finally, and that's going to feel good. I always like to look at a losing game and try to boil it down to the lowest number of things that could have changed to make it a different game. And in this case, I still point to the 2 interceptions and just the turnovers, and had those not happened, I think the whole shape and flow of the game, it was very back and forth to those points, and both of those turnovers really, knocked the Ticats down that hill they were trying to climb. And so, to me, if you could to boil it down to the smallest number of variables that led to this, it's the interception still, and that's been something we've talked about, even going back into last season.
I'm going to be that guy, and because a lot of people in Tiger Town will be talking about it. It will become a national discussion across the Canadian Football League. They did see Matthew Schultz come in there, complete 13 of 14 yards for 158 yards, throws a touchdown pass, and you talk about the interceptions and lack of offensive production from when Bo was running the offense. I'll throw this to you, Andy. Is there any consideration, if Bo is healthy, that you would go to a Matt Schultz?
Well, I think it's a good issue to have with Bo having the injury and having a short week, and having someone capable like Matthew Schultz there ready to step in. If they're both healthy, I don't think you make the switch yet. I thought Bo played pretty well, and Matthew Schultz is 13 of 14, 115. That's against the prevent defense. You got to keep that into consideration. And not saying he wouldn't have done that anyways, but just you can't really compare the two. Bo was 16 for 24, 158, and I did think he played better, but the Ticats have to find a way to get second down conversions, and no matter who's in there. I think 8 for 22 this game, 36.4% is just not going to get it done, and teams seem to be zeroing in on what their Ticats are trying to accomplish there. So got to have a bit of a shake-up there. And but, yeah, I guess a long way to answer your question is I don't think you make the switch at this point. I think Bo's had a big improvement from game 1, just with his poise, and I thought his delivery and his outlook on the game minus those 2 plays. So if he can continue to progress like that, that he's your guy, right, coming into the season.
Luke, again, the Tiger Cats didn't go out and make an investment on a guy like this to have him sitting on the sidelines.
Yeah, and part of that, too, is Matt Schultz is just doing his job. You expect him to go in there and produce. Like, you're not expecting him to go in there and miss throws or miss opportunities. He did well, but no, Bo Levi Mitchell is still the guy, and you just hope he's healthy and then he can get a chance to play at the home field here. So I would be very excited and hopeful to see Bo Levi Mitchell take the field in a few days from now.
And let's get this out of the way again, because this will not again be a talking point, again, nationally, probably within Tiger Town as well, too. Luke, to you. And it's interesting, both you guys played this position on that little, I believe it was in the third quarter, that little look-in screen dump to Tim White, and he got, clocked pretty good, and then seemed to turn on his teammate. First of all, I thought he was upset because he did take a headshot, which I thought was a headshot in my opinion, but it did look like he wasn't happy with the way that play was executed with his teammate, Tyler Ternowski. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that Tim White would probably say, that's my bad. You shouldn't lose your cool like that in the moment on a teammate. To be honest, one of the most encouraging things to me is Ternowski scores a touchdown, and he and Tim White have a little end zone handshake thing. I mean, I think that they're buddies, and everyone's going to lose their cool out there. I don't know. Maybe we could go find a time where Andy was yelling at me on the field for one thing or another. I don't remember it, but you never know what happened. It's an intense game, and but both those guys ended up making some big plays at the end.
Let's go right back down to the locker room and connect with our player of the game, Duke Williams. 6 receptions, 102 yards. Duke, heck of a game out there, though I know you're looking for the victory.
Man, it was a good game, but we came up short, so everything else canceled out. We just got to do better. I feel like we wasn't connecting how we were supposed to, like we was missing like simple stuff. Like as an offense, I feel like defense, to me, I feel like defense balled out. There's only so much defense could do when we keep going 2 and out as an offense, so I don't blame those guys. I just feel like I hold myself accountable, and we just got to refocus. And this home opener coming this week, we just got to handle business. We got to settle down and just play football. Don't think too much and just have fun.
Duke, well said there, putting a lot of pressure on your defense to continue to produce without any first downs. What's the chatter like on the sidelines amongst the offensive unit when you're in that dry spell of 12 or 13 drives with no points?
We just be trying to keep everybody up. We don't want nobody to get discouraged, because at the end of the day, it's just the second second game of the season, and plus this a new offense. We all trying to gel together, but that's no excuse for how we played. We practiced all week long. We had a great week of practice, but like you said, we can't leave the defense out there like keep going 2 and outs, because they only could do so much. So I tip my hat off to the defense. We're gonna go in tomorrow. We got a short week. We're gonna watch film. We check our feelings at the door. Whatever they say, take it to the chin and get better this week and have a great home opener.
Duke had some good production in Winnipeg, and then even more here this evening. Yes, 2 losses, but do you feel like that connection is getting better? You're making some improvements each week in the passing game?
Yeah, I'm really just trying to, like, as just an individual, I'm just trying to get back to used to playing, because, I've been out since August of last year, so I'm really just trying to get back in the rhythm, and I'm starting to get there. I dropped a lot of weight, so I'm moving better, and I'm going to continue to get better. I'm going to continue to hold myself accountable, hold my teammates accountable, and by the time week 10 hit, we should be what we're supposed to be at. There's no excuse. And it's football, and it's a long season. Last year they made the playoffs with like a bad record. A lot of teams make the playoffs in a bad record. So at the end of the day, people could ball out all they want to. We just got to make it to that dance.
Duke, when you came on the line, we were kind of talking about that inner squad sort of scuffle there with Tim and Ternowski. Was that just a case of emotions running high and frustration?
That's all it was, emotions. We brothers at the end of the day. We gonna fuss at each other. That's part of the game, But don't never take it personal, If he's telling you something, from what he saw. We just look at the iPad, correct it. We dabbed Ternowski up. We dabbed him up, told them both calm down, and look what they did at the end of the game. They made big plays. So, I was happy when I saw that. And as me being the oldest in the group, I have to make sure them boys stay together. And that's what I'm going to continue to do, be the leader I'm supposed to be. And we're gonna step it up this week, work even harder. And when it's home opener here, we have to look like a different team, because we can't start off slow. And this 2 weeks in a row we put up, we started off slow. We can't be doing that. We got to help our defense out. It's a complementary game. Special teams, offense, defense, they gel together. When one not working, then it'll result in a loss. And that's what happened in the last 2 weeks. So we all got to put it together and ball out. We have a lot of talent on the team. We have a lot of leaders, a lot of dogs. We just got to put it all together.
6 receptions, 102 yards in this loss to the Toronto Argonauts. Duke Williams, our performer of the game, presented by Hercules Tire. Ride on our strength. Thanks for joining us there.
Thank y'all for having me, boss.
Well, well said. I think he kind of said a lot there in the fact of, we've got to do better and hold up our end of the bargain. And you guys as offensive players in your day, we always talk about this, that, it's the thing about football, 3 aspects in special teams, offense, defense, and you've got to find a way, because we have seen this in a half at least, where I thought the defense played very, very well to keep the Tiger Cats in this contest, Andy, and the offense kind of didn't hold up their bargain after putting up 27 points in the second half last game.
Yeah, well, certainly, but I think those numbers are a bit inflated because you look at the turnovers that helped put up those points last game.
True.
Two scores, one on defense, one on special teams. Another special teams play to the 3-yard line, which the following play was a score. So you talk about 27 points. Well, 21 of those we just accounted for. Offense needs to get better. There's just no way else to say it. But we saw a lot of good things tonight. I think other than that, those 2 and outs in the third quarter that they really stalled there. I thought the first half they were moving the ball well, and if it wasn't for those turnovers, and then in the end zone they would have had more points, and then on defense, those penalties in the first half, they would have been off the field, and the offense would have had even more opportunities. So I thought the first half was above average offensively, and other than those 2 costly turnovers in the end zone. So you're gonna need that was a great interview, I thought, by Duke there. He said a lot of great things, and including owning up to what he needs to get better at, and he talked about his getting in better shape and coming off not playing since last August, and I'm already rooting for him a bit more after talking to him. So great to hear, and it sounds like there's still a lot of positivity within the locker room, and I expect them to show up a little bit different on Friday.
Well, you need voices like that in the locker room too, because Duke's a guy who's played a couple CFL seasons, and he's so right. 0-2 starting means absolutely does not exclude you from the playoffs or exclude you from a championship, and you just played a team who last year sort of wiggled their way into a Grey Cup championship. They were by no means some outright front runner for the Grey Cup, and they found their way there. Yes, it's great. You don't want to have to scrap and claw your way there in October, but it's been done so many times. It's the nature of the league almost, and so I echo that sentiment, and I admire Duke's sort of attitude, and you've got to have those voices in the locker room, because it starts with that belief that you still can turn things around. And like I said, if you can really identify 2, 3, 4 plays that would have changed everything, and in this game it's kind of easy to do. You flip those things and you're where you want to be.
When you have such high expectations coming into the season, all the acquisitions, and you start 0-2 with this poor offensive output, just talking out loud, how important it is for just the outside chatter will it be to get this win next week and turn the tide before going into a bye week. You don't want to be 0-3 going into a bye week with poor offensive output again.
Well, especially when you're going to be playing in front of your home fans.
Yep, and against an Eastern opponent, and you're right. I mean, this, that they do mount as you go on, the importance of the wins, especially as you're trying to break a losing streak. And why not this week? And you're going to have a very light week of practice. Andy, you remember those short weeks? So this is going to be a Sunday to a Friday. You hit, all of a sudden, you kick off on Friday, and it's wow, I was just in game day just ended, and there's no lag. If you can get healthy for it, it's actually not a bad thing. You're really just kind of right into the flow of the game, and big opportunity, an important opportunity Friday at Tim Hortons Field.
And I asked Coach off the top about that moment that we saw him kneeling down there prior to, I guess, shaking hands with Dinwiddie. And I'm not saying this is a continuation from last year, but, you guys know it. You played at the professional level. Losing sucks. And it's something that you've got to look at each other, and I think, as you guys have kind of talked about, got to band together, and the band of brothers, if you want to call it that, Andy.
Yeah. Well, in football, only one team's going to win and one team's going to lose, and you spend a lot of time and energy and blood and sweat and and tears with a large number of people, and that's what makes football the ultimate team sport. And not banding together, not being a cohesive unit, you don't really stand a chance. So it's that culture that is so preached so highly and so evident here in Hamilton and has been in the Coach O tenure. It is excellent and is important, and we can't let a couple losses and a slow start to the season get in between any of that.
Luke Lee, I know we're the Ticats audio network, obviously, but just a quick word on what you saw from the young Kelly. He's certainly not he's certainly his uncle.
Yeah.
But 14 out of 23, 208, 5 carries, 3 touchdown passes, 28 yards rushing. But in kind of like his uncle, he does look like the leader on the field there as the quarterback.
Yeah, he does, and he's a big body, and he was patient in the pocket, and you do have to. That the line of scrimmage battle, I think the Argonauts did a really good job. I mean, they gave him time to make his throws, and he did a great job of it. The most impressive stat for him, for a young quarterback to me, is he threw no interceptions, and that's huge, especially as he's just taking over this franchise. But he looked really good. Not a enormous game, but of that 200 and whatever yards, 185 of it was the first half. I mean, he had a really impressive first half, and then that third quarter for both offenses just disappeared. I mean, there was nothing happening offensively for the Ticats nor for the Argos. But I think overall, the CFL has an emerging quarterback here who's going to be an interesting guy to watch, and he really did. He led his team. He had poise, made great throws in that first half, and was careful with the ball. Not to mention he ran it in the end zone 3 times. So overall, pretty impressive, and from a CFL perspective, that's great. I mean, it's great to have exciting quarterbacks and young new quarterbacks that are changing the way the game is played. So good for him.
Next week, or at least coming up this on Friday, it's going to be Cody Fajardo, a guy that many around this league have said has kind of a chip on his shoulder, and he's a guy that he's still talking about his experience in Saskatchewan, and he wants to go out and prove himself with a pretty good Montreal Alouettes team that some people believe can compete with the rest of the top guns in this league.
Yeah, well, Cody's a guy who's looking for a new beginning because he had such a strong year a few years past in SAS there, and then high expectations and sort of put up a dud and got moved and got a new opportunity with Montreal, and a team that you can't overlook. They have a strong defense, a strong front seven, and they're going to be. They're going to be one of those teams that is going to be gritty and grimy and in every single ball game that they play. So, you can't take this team or Cody lightly, and he has a lot of assets that are dangerous. He can also run the ball. He can move around, extend plays. He has a good arm, and he has some weapons around him. So it's going to be a tough matchup, and I'd hope to see the Tiger Cats apply a little bit more pressure than what happened tonight with Chad Kelly and last week with Zach Colaros.
Coming into this home opener, both of you guys have been part of this Ticat club that have started on the road this season. Luke, got to be that good feeling of now knowing that you're going to have a sold-out Tim Hortons field here and lots of support for your team this time.
Yep, there absolutely is, and that's part of it, the fans and the energy of the home stadium, but there's also all the logistics of traveling are not in this week of prep, and that's a lot too. I mean, especially when you go out west like they did for Winnipeg to start the season, but there's undeniable comfort in your home crowd and home stadium, home locker room, all of that, and so excited to see this match Friday night.
Final word to you there, Andy.
Yeah, pretty easy to erase this feeling with a win Friday.
Yeah.
Go into a bye week. Yes, you'll only be 1-2, but a whole different outlook from a team perspective, a fan perspective, like a media perspective. I think it's positive that it's a quick turnaround and you're playing at home and a chance to really right the ship.
If you're Bo Levi Mitchell, just one last one to you guys here. Obviously, do you play hurt? I mean, because you talk about this wanting to play at home.
Well, depends, right? Because we don't know what he's dealing with first, but it just depends. There's that thought. It is early. In 10 weeks, 8 weeks from now, no one will really remember this moment or think about it. So you got to be careful. But if you can play, if it's reasonable to, then yeah, I think you play through.
32-14 is the final score. Thank you for listening there, Tiger Town. Tough one as the team fall to 0-2. For Andy Fantuz, of course, RJ Broadhead, Luke Tasker, and all of our production crew. Hey, we'll be back Friday night. We talk about this home opener. Tiger Cats pregame presented by Greenworks as the Tiger Cats host the Alouettes in their home opener right at Tim Hortons Field, and the place is going to be jammed. You're going to want to be there. And, of course, if you can't be down at the stadium, our broadcast starts at 6:30 right here. Join us, please, on the Ticats Audio Network. Have a great evening.